Ever wondered why we act the way we do or why certain things appeal to us while others don't? Welcome to the fascinating world of psychology, the study of the mind and behavior. This intriguing science continually explores the mysterious labyrinth of the human psyche. It helps us understand why we think what we think, why we feel what we feel, and why we do what we do. You may not realize it, but psychology plays a significant role in our everyday lives. It influences our decisions, how we interact with others, and even our tastes and preferences. The more we comprehend the workings of our minds, the better we can navigate the complexities of life. Today, we are going to delve into 15 astounding psychological facts that will undoubtedly boggle your mind. These facts touch upon various aspects of our lives, from the way we plan our goals to the reasons behind our contagious yawns. We'll discuss why individual stories of suffering often move us more than large-scale tragedies, and why we remember the beginnings and endings of events more than the middle parts. We'll also explore the power of positive thinking, the allure of anticipation, our penchant for bad news, and even our quirky urge to squeeze cute things. Beyond this, we'll delve into how our biases shape our perceptions, why the music of our teenage years holds a special place in our hearts, and the surprising inaccuracies of our memories. We'll examine why we see faces in inanimate objects and how our expectations can elevate our performance. And finally, we'll look at why our brains prioritize short-term gratification. Understanding these psychological phenomena can empower us to navigate life with greater insight and compassion. So buckle up and prepare yourself for an enlightening journey into the human mind. Stay tuned as we delve into these mind-boggling psychological facts. Did you know that having a backup plan can actually hinder the success of your primary plan? Yes, it's true. Psychology tells us that our brains are fascinatingly complex, often behaving in ways we wouldn't expect. When we have a backup plan, our mind subconsciously diminishes our motivation to achieve the primary goal. It's as if our brain says, hey, don't worry, we have plan B, so let's not put all our energy into plan A. This surprising fact stems from the idea that our brain prioritizes safety and certainty. It sees a backup plan as a safety net, which can reduce the urgency and drive to make the primary plan work. It's a classic case of our brain choosing short-term comfort over long-term rewards. This doesn't mean we should throw all caution to the wind and never have a backup plan, but it's good to be aware of this psychological effect. We might need to make a conscious effort to maintain our motivation and focus on our primary goals, even when we have a backup plan in place. So it might be worthwhile to rethink your backup plans. Ever yawned just because someone else did? You're not alone. This is a widely observed phenomenon known as contagious yawning. But why does it happen? Well, it's linked to empathy. When we see someone yawn, our brain responds in a way that mirrors the yawner's actions, making us yawn too. It's worth noting that this is less common among young children and individuals on the autism spectrum. So, next time you yawn, remember, it's not just about being sleepy, but also about empathy. Did you know that we are more likely to donate when presented with individual cases of suffering compared to statistics about larger-scale tragedies? This might seem counterintuitive, but it's actually grounded in psychology. Our minds are wired to respond to personal narratives. When we hear about a single person's struggles, we can easily put ourselves in their shoes. We picture their pain, their sorrow, their hopes, and it tugs at our heartstrings. In contrast, when we're presented with statistics about vast tragedies, the figures can feel abstract and impersonal. The individual stories get lost in the sea of numbers, making it harder for us to connect on an emotional level. This phenomenon highlights the power of storytelling in mobilizing compassion and charity. It's not about minimizing the scope of larger issues, but rather about humanizing them. By focusing on individual stories, we can stir empathy, prompt action, and ultimately, drive change. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by the enormity of a problem, remember the power of one story, one person, one act of kindness. Remember, every donation, no matter how small, can make a big difference. Ever noticed how you remember the start and end of an event more clearly than the middle part? This isn't just a random occurrence, but a psychological phenomenon known as the serial position effect. This principle suggests that we are more likely to recall the first and last items in a series, while the middle items tend to blur together in our memory. It's like when you remember the appetizer and dessert from a meal, but can't quite recall the main course. Now let's talk about another psychological principle: the negativity bias. Have you ever found yourself dwelling on a single negative comment, even when you've received numerous compliments? That's the negativity bias at work. It's our tendency to pay more attention to negative experiences over neutral or positive ones. Think of it as the brain's way of keeping you out of harm's way by prioritizing potential threats. But this negativity bias can also lead us into a cycle of pessimism. So how can we combat this bias? The answer lies in the ratio of positive to negative thoughts. Research suggests that maintaining a 5-to-1 ratio of positive to negative thoughts can help keep our mindset optimistic. This doesn't mean ignoring the negatives, but rather acknowledging them, then focusing more on the positives. Imagine you've had a rough day at work. Instead of dwelling on the one thing that went wrong, try to focus on the 5 things that went right. Maybe you completed a challenging task, or received praise from a colleague. By consciously shifting our attention towards positivity, we can counteract the power of the negativity bias. Both the serial position effect and negativity bias influence our perceptions and memories. By understanding these phenomena, we can take active steps to manage our thoughts and recollections in a healthier, more positive way. So keep your thoughts positive and remember the good times. Ever wondered why we can't resist checking out bad news? Well, it's not because we enjoy doom and gloom, but rather because our brains are wired to prefer knowing bad news over living with uncertainty. This psychological fact might seem counterintuitive, but it actually makes a lot of sense when you consider our evolutionary history. You see, for our ancestors, knowing about potential dangers and threats was crucial for survival. So, they developed a tendency to always be on the lookout for bad news. Fast forward to modern times, this trait is still ingrained in us, manifesting in our obsession with bad news. Moreover, uncertainty triggers anxiety. The not knowing can be more stressful than the bad news itself. So, we seek out negative information to eliminate the uncertainty, even if the news is bad. This is why we often find ourselves scrolling through unsettling news headlines before bed, or can't resist clicking on that ominous spoiler alert for our favorite TV show. So it's not just curiosity but also our dislike for uncertainty that makes us seek out bad news. Ever seen a face in a cloud or a piece of toast? That's actually a psychological phenomenon known as pareidolia. Our brains are wired to recognize faces, and sometimes they get a little overzealous, seeing faces where there aren't any. It's a testament to our social nature and our deep-rooted need to identify friend from foe. Inanimate objects, clouds, even the surface of the moon, our minds can conjure up familiar faces in the most unexpected places. Now let's talk about something entirely different yet equally fascinating: the Pygmalion effect. Named after the Greek myth of Pygmalion, who fell in love with a statue he carved, this psychological phenomenon suggests that higher expectations can lead to improved performance. It's a form of self-fulfilling prophecy. When we believe in our ability to succeed, we're more likely to do so. Likewise, when others believe in us, it can boost our motivation and performance. For instance, consider a teacher who believes in a student's potential. The student, sensing this belief, might put in more effort, leading to better grades. Voila! The Pygmalion effect in action. It's not magic, it's psychology. But it's not just about individual expectations. It extends to group dynamics, workplace environments, and even societal norms. A culture that expects and nurtures success can cultivate it. So, what's the takeaway? Well, it's simple. Our minds are powerful tools. They can turn toast into faces and expectations into reality. And while it's fun to see faces in clouds, it's the Pygmalion effect that can truly transform our lives. So, keep expecting the best from yourself and others, and you might just get it. We've come to the end of our mind-blowing psychological journey. We've delved into the power of our plans, the contagious nature of yawning, and the curious workings of our charitable minds. We've explored how the serial position effect and negativity bias shape our perception and how we often prefer uncomfortable truths over uncertainty. We've also covered the fascinating phenomena of pareidolia and the Pygmalion effect. Remember, understanding these psychological phenomena can empower us to navigate life with greater insight and compassion. Until next time.